to Cooking with Francois. Take off my mask and get ready. Today we are going to be fixing creamy pork chops. Pork chops in a creamy mushroom sauce. So we need to get started with our pork chops. Just regular bone-in pork chops are what we're going to use. And we just salt them and pepper them. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the top off the pot, turn it onto brown, sear, saute, whatever yours says. Press start. And now I am going to put, where's my olive oil? There it is. A tablespoon or so of olive oil in the pot. I don't usually measure that, you know. All right, so while it's coming up to heat, I'm going to take my beautiful pork chops. And when we're browning these, we do not want to crowd the pot. So we will just be doing a few at a time and browning them in that olive oil and then taking them out as we get to that point where it's time to put more in there. So I'm going to season them with a little bit of black pepper, and a little bit of salt. Turn it over, do the same thing. Now I did bone in because I think when you cook something, if you leave the bone in it, you're giving more flavor to the finished dish. So, our oil looks pretty good and hot. So, in go the pork chops. And I'll be back after I have browned my 2 pounds of pork chops. So, be back in a minute. All right, I'm back. Our pork chops, I've got the last 2 in. They're getting ready to come out, and we're getting ready to go to the next step. So, I'm going to take these pork chops out. These are center cut, bone in. You can use boneless, but you don't cook them as long. But I prefer, like I said, to use the bone in. Now we're going to add an extra tablespoon of oil. And I have chopped up 1 large shallot, which of course is in the onion family. And boy, did I find a big one. Well, that's because I like the flavor that they give. So, I put my shallots in, and I'm going to stir those and get up all those wonderful bits. We're only going to stir these for a minute or so. And then we're going to put in our next ingredient to deglaze the pan. Usually you use something acidic. I am using Marsala wine. Shh, don't tell Miss Calhoun down at the admin office. I promise I'm not drinking it, I'm just cooking with it. But anyway, Marsala wine. You find it where you find the cooking sherries and your port and those type of fortified wines is where you find your Marsala. All right, we're cooking right along. It says now we add our Marsala. and give it a good stir. So right now we've got our shallots and our Marsala wine in the pot. We then turn off the sear function, and we're going to add to this 1.5 cups of chicken broth. I'm going to have to go around to the side, so you might not be able to see anything but my hands. One half cup, another half cup, and another half cup. Give us our cup and a half of our chicken broth. We now stir it. We put our pork chops back into the pot. Doesn't matter if they overlap now, because we're not browning. Now we're going to actually do the cooking of our pork chops. Remember, this was 2 pounds, which ended up being about 6 of these nice size pork chops. Well, that one doesn't want to get off the bottom of my bowl. There we go. All right, pork chops are in the pot with our shallots, our masala, and our chicken broth. You then use fresh thyme. It says a bundle. So what I normally do is I take cotton twine and tie them together so that at the end I can get it out easier and we won't have sticks all in. So let's see what it says. It says to put the fresh thyme in the pot. We are now, whoops, wrong direction. There we go. We're going to lock it. We're going to put it on pressure, and we are going to cook it now for 10 minutes. Manual. All right, in about 10 minutes, then we're supposed to let it sit. And then we're going to be cooking our sauce that's going to go on these pork chops. So, I'll be back in a minute. Alrighty, I'm back, everybody. Now we're going to start on the sauce. Here I have my induction cooktop. I have a skillet that is made out of thin cast iron because I prefer cast iron personally, but that's up to you. Okay, we're now going to cook the mushrooms. We need to turn on, I'm putting it on medium to start with. And I need to put 1 tablespoon of butter in, and to that we're going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Olive oil raises the burning temperature of the butter, because butter itself has a relatively low threshold when it comes to burning. Sounds like our pot is there. So it's going to start counting in a minute. Already up to pressure because of us browning the pork chops. So I'm melting my butter, and I've got my olive oil in here. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to saute our mushrooms. supposed to do 3/4 of a pound. They come in 1-pound packages. So, taking some of these big ones out here, put them over to the side for me to chew on later. There we go. These are baby bellas, the others were white button. Personally, I prefer the button mushrooms, the baby bellas, or creminis as they're sometimes called, but that's entirely a matter of taste. You can use whichever one you prefer. I used a pound of white button mushrooms sliced, and now I've got that, 8 ounces of those, and 8 ounces of the baby bellas. Actually, now that it's supposed to be 3/4 of a pound, so that's about right. I did a pound of one and about 3/4 of another one, actually. It never hurts to have extra mushrooms. So, we're going to cook these until they release their moisture, and then we're going to add some of our other ingredients. So, I'm not going to make you watch me cook these mushrooms, so I will be back when it's time to move on to the next step. All right, everybody, we're down to our last minute on the pressure cooking portion of this recipe. What you do is as soon as it goes off, just went off, and mine automatically turns to keep warm. And now we're going to keep it warm for 10 minutes. All right, let's finish up our, well, looks like it's quit on me. Oh well, I'll be back in a minute. I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but did you know you had to plug this in before it would work? Woo me! Sometimes I wonder about myself. So, the time is counting up on the cooker. We're up to 1 minute, so when it gets to 10, we'll be finished. We will then release the rest of the pressure. The mushrooms have been cooked to release their moisture, and we're starting to brown now, so we need to add the rest of our ingredients. The rest of our ingredients, we're going to turn it down to low, and I am going to put in my ½ cup of heavy cream, 3 to 4 tablespoons of grainy mustard. And 2 tablespoons of thyme leaves. And now we're going to stir this together until it's all blended nicely together. And this is going to be our sauce that we're going to put over our pork chops. So, when we're finished keeping the pork chops warm and releasing the pressure, I'll be back. All right, our 10 minutes is up. So I am stopping the pot. I'm now going to release the pressure. As soon as we're finished releasing the pressure, I'm going to take the chops and put them on this platter. I'm also going to take the thyme that's in there out, and then the juices that are in the cooker will go into my skillet. I've taken my sauce out, and it's going to go in here, and we're going to reduce it, and then add about a half a cup or so into the sauce, and then put it all back in here, and then put our pork chops in the sauce, and let them heat up real good. So, next step, sounds like it's almost ready for us to do. It's getting there. So, here's our sauce. I'm going to go ahead and put the pan on low so it will be warm. Actually, I put it on medium low. So it'll be good and warm when we put the juices from the pot into the skillet. Now, it says I'm supposed to strain it, but personally, I like the little shallots, so I am not going to strain mine. You can strain yours if you want to. Look at that. Remember how I tied it together? Now it all comes off in one bunch. So, here come our pork chops. Well, they're falling off the bone. I hope I can get them out. Well, there went part of one. There we go. As a matter of fact, I might take the bone out while we're reducing the liquid. Won't hurt, wouldn't hurt. That way folks don't have to bite around those bones. All right. Now, I'm going to put the juices from here into here. Let me get my hot pad so I can grab the pot. Helps to have two hands to do this, so you can pull it out straight, but anyway. So, putting the beautiful stock from the pot into the skillet, and I'm now going to turn it up to medium-high so we can reduce this, and then we'll be back. All right, I have put our sauce with the cream and the mustard back in, and now I'm going to add a half a cup of the reduced liquid from the cooker and mix it in. And it says you could use more. I don't think I need it right now. Looks pretty good to me, and I'm going to start putting the pork now into the pan. And as you can see, the meat is falling apart. I did take the bones out. Now I'm going to quit doing it the hard way and do it the Butch way. Excuse me, Francois way. And I'm going to stir this meat into this wonderful sauce. Breaking into pieces, so if you wanted to keep yours whole, I don't know what to tell you. This works better for here, since I'm going to be serving it to the folks that work here. So, there you go. I'm going to put this back on the platter. And then we have our pork chops in a creamy mushroom sauce. I brought a knife thinking I might need it, but now I know I don't. So, there's a little bit of pork. Let me get me a couple of these wonderful mushrooms. And let's see if I can pick up some sauce with this. I didn't bring a spoon. That's sort of par for the course. There we go. All right. Well, let's try it and see what we think. A little piece of pork. Mushroom. I know you get tired of me saying this every time and going like, but it's worth it. It's absolutely delicious. So I hope you will try this creamy mushroom sauce pork chop recipe using your pressure cooker. So, until next time, let's dig in.